Hi everyone, and welcome to Hontora. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is the place where we explore the darkest, most deeply unsettling, true horror stories the internet has to offer. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Genuinely glad you're here. 2 stories. The first one builds slowly, but it builds to something real. The second one I genuinely debated not posting. Not for any policy reason. Just because some things feel too close to something true, and putting a voice to them feels like a risk I can't fully explain. I posted it anyway. Comments open at the end. Don't scroll past. Tell me what it did to you. Lights down. Viewer discretion is advised. I've done the 100-mile wilderness 3 times. Solo twice, with a partner once. I'm not the type who needs company out there. I find the silence useful, the kind that lets you think in straight lines. I work in structural engineering. I solve problems with information. I say that because I want you to understand the frame I was working inside when this happened, and how hard I worked to keep it intact. My friend Joel and I went in on a Wednesday in late September. His idea. He'd never done a serious wilderness section before and wanted company for the first time. We were 4 days in, maybe 60 miles from the northern terminus, camped on a flat shelf above a creek with good tree cover and no one else within earshot. Weather had been clean. Legs were tired. We ate, hung our food, were in our bags by 9. I woke up around 2 a.m. without knowing why. Not startled, just awake. The way you sometimes are when something changes in the ambient environment without making a sound you can identify. I lay still for a moment and listened to the creek and the wind moving through the canopy above, and then I heard, very quietly, the sound of something being set down on the ground outside. A soft, careful sound, deliberate. I unzipped my bag slowly and looked through the mesh panel of the tent. He was standing about 12 feet away. My first thought, and I mean my genuine, immediate first thought, was that he was a local. Someone who used this stretch of woods regularly and had stumbled across our camp without expecting it. I was trying to build a rational explanation before I'd even fully processed what I was looking at. He was short, wide through the shoulders, but short, maybe 5'4", with a heaviness to his frame that didn't match the way he was moving, which was careful. Almost delicate. His face, even in the dark, with only the ambient gray of cloud-filtered moonlight, was wrong in a way I couldn't quickly categorize. Not injured, just structured differently, like someone had made a face from memory rather than from observation. He was holding a hatchet, old, short handle, head dark with age or rust, I couldn't tell, and he was looking at Joel's side of the tent, not moving, not advancing, just looking. His head was tilted at a slight angle, the way a dog looks at something it hasn't decided about yet. His breathing was audible from 12 feet, slow, slightly open-mouthed. His free hand was hanging at his side and the fingers were moving, just slightly, not reaching, more like counting. I did not move. I made a decision in that moment not to move, not to speak, not to wake Joel, not to reach for anything. Because whatever I was looking at, it wasn't agitated, it was curious, and I understood, at some animal level below rational thought, that agitation was the variable I needed to control. Then Joel rolled over in his sleep. That's all it was. A shift in position, bag rustling. The man's whole body changed. His chin came up, his shoulders came forward. The hand holding the hatchet moved, not raised, but repositioned, gripped differently. He made a sound. Low, not a word. More like pressure escaping. Hey! My voice came out flat and quiet, and I don't know how. Hey, it's okay. He looked at me, through the mesh. Direct. 3 seconds, maybe 4. Then he took 1 step back, then another. Then he turned, not fast, not panicked, and walked into the trees, and was gone before I heard the 3rd footfall. I woke Joel, told him everything. We packed out at first light and covered 18 miles before we stopped. We reported it to the ranger station at the northern end. The ranger on duty listened without much expression and wrote something down and said they were aware of reports of an individual living rough in that section. He said it the way you'd say the roof leaks when it rains hard. Acknowledged, unresolved. I asked if anyone had been hurt. He said not yet. I've thought about that phrasing more than I'd like to admit. Bobby Ray Miller was the best man I knew underground. 17 years working the same seam, same crew, and I never once saw him rattled. Not by gas pockets, not by bad timber, not by the sounds a mountain makes when it's settling wrong. He had this quality that's hard to put into words, a steadiness that the rest of us borrowed when our own ran thin. That's the man I need you to understand before I tell you what happened. Because what came out of that mine after the collapse, I need you to know it wasn't him. Mine number 44 ran a double shift on a Wednesday in November, cold enough that the ground above was frozen solid, which meant the rock below was doing things it shouldn't, contracting, shifting, stressing along fault lines that the survey maps didn't fully account for. I knew this. We all knew this. You work long enough underground. You develop a feel for what a mountain is doing on a given day, the way a sailor reads water. That morning, the mountain felt wrong. Bobby Ray didn't agree. He said I was reading into it. The collapse happened at 4:20 in the afternoon. Section C, deep shaft, roughly 40 meters down. 7 men were in that section. 6 came out during the initial evacuation. Bobby Ray didn't. We got him out 51 hours later. Physically intact, that was the word the site medic used. Intact, like he was a piece of equipment that had been checked for damage and cleared. He had some dehydration, some bruising, a laceration on his left forearm that needed 8 stitches. Vitals normal. He walked out of the medical tent under his own power and looked at the mine entrance for a long time without saying anything. That was the first thing, the looking. He came back to work 10 days later, which was faster than anyone expected. I pulled him aside and asked if he was sure. He said yes, said it in a way that ended the conversation. Flat, final, like a door closing quietly in an empty house. The Bobby Ray who came back didn't make eye contact the same way. That sounds small. It wasn't. The man I'd worked beside for 17 years looked at you when he talked to you. This version looked past you, through you, like you were a feature of the room rather than a person in it. I told myself it was trauma. I told myself anyone who'd spent 51 hours in a collapsed shaft in the dark would come out rearranged. I gave him time. 3 weeks in, I found him standing at the entrance to Section C at the end of a shift, just standing, not moving. I called his name twice before he turned around. He said, "It's still in there, John Joe." I asked what was. He didn't answer. I reported it to the foreman, quietly the way you raise concerns you can't fully articulate. The foreman said Bobby Ray had been cleared by the company doctor and there was nothing actionable. That word, actionable. The morning it happened was a Thursday, early shift, 12 men underground, including me and Bobby Ray. I smelled it before I understood it. That specific chemical sharpness that doesn't belong in a working seam. I knew the smell. Every miner knows the smell. I started moving toward it. Bobby Ray was in the secondary shaft access, crouched down. The bag was open. He looked up when I came around the corner, and his face was calm, completely, utterly calm, the way a man looks when he's finished making a decision. He said, "It needs to go back down." I don't talk about what happened in the next 40 seconds. I've given a statement to the county sheriff, to the company, to an investigator from the state. Those accounts exist somewhere in a filing system. What I'll say here is that 12 men walked out of number 44 that morning. And I made the decision I made, and I'd make it again. And that fact doesn't make it lighter to carry. The mine was closed permanently 2 weeks later. Environmental remediation, the official notice said. They never told the crew what Bobby Ray had buried deeper in that shaft before I found him. The investigator mentioned it once, then didn't mention it again. Sometimes I think about what he said. It needs to go back down. I still don't know what he meant by it.